in a while, freshen things up. And we are actually out and live. We are out in the world from the comfort of our spots. Is everybody at home?
Yeah.
Well, there we go. And somebody else got a screen.
Yeah.
Quinn.
I
Okay,
was
so
just
we're
admiring
talking.
yours.
It works out. Quick story. Someone else was going to use this very spot and they wanted to rehearse and then they were going to come back and actually go live. And I thought, I always have these things in the background. Should I clear it? Whatever. And we just decided if we get a screen, that's just going to clear that. It takes probably, um, 5 seconds to just stretch it across. And I'm like, and poof, it's neutral. So I'm grateful for it now. I'll bring in some. You do too. Yeah. I'll bring in some flowers or something when I'm on a Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah. I have it in a different setting, but I use mine too. It's great.
Yes. I think I recognize that background, Lisa, from your summit. Is that what we were seeing?
Yes, that was from
I recognize it too.
Yay. Well, this isn't intentional, but you all were available today. And of course, you've all interacted with each other.
This is like my summit team back together.
I know. So it's like, an after party. I don't know. When you were done, that was huge. Lisa, how many hours did you span with that?
Well, only day one was live. And
there you go.
Yeah. But I think it ended up being 9 hours and I never got a break. So my assistant said, "How did you do that without having to go to the bathroom?"
We call it bio break, but everybody knows you got to dash to the bathroom. Oh my goodness. How did you survive? What is the secret for everyone who gets into one of these virtual-a-thons or fundraisers or something? What's your secrets, Lisa? And you say, well, you record some of them. No?
Everybody on the first day was live and it was back the entire time. I have to say that I'm kind of quirky about this. When I fly, I don't like to use the lavatories on the plane. Yes. So I just psych myself up to not even think about having to go. So I decided, since I hadn't factored in any breaks, so to speak, I kept waiting for Bob to come back on the screen so I could maybe run over there, but he didn't. So I just psyched myself up. It's like, you don't. And I moved through, but I don't, it was.
Oh my goodness. Good. I'm glad you didn't say I totally dehydrate. I just won't drink anything for 24 hours.
I actually had a bottle of water here with me. So I just.
All right.
Yeah.
You psych yourself up for it. I think elite athletes have to do the same thing or something. It's just like, I can't just run off the court or the field or whatever, just have to psych myself up. Well, that's dedication. That's dedication. Oh my goodness. Okay. So you brought in Alexis and you brought in Quinn.
Alexis was actually a guest on my podcast. She reached out to me.
Yeah.
And I found Quinn through LinkedIn. The majority of the people that were at the summit, I found through LinkedIn, and I just messaged them and it was just really overwhelming how many people were interested in participating. I was trying to find experts from a huge variety of different areas that related to Alzheimer's disease. And it was, I had more people wanting to participate in my summit than I had spots. So, and then the people that we did end up with were just phenomenal. Every single one of the speakers was phenomenal. Yeah. Thank you guys. It was
Thank
Oh,
you. It was a wonderful event. It all came together well.
Yeah, that was my first one. So, don't know. But Bob is the experienced summit person. So he guided me through it and co-hosted it with me just to make sure that we didn't have any glitches. And thanks to him, we didn't. But I'm on my own now if I do another one.
You got it.
Yeah. And I want to do another one. I think I'll do another one maybe this summer. So if any of you are interested in speaking, I'll
this
summer.
summer.
Yeah.
Do you do your own tech? Do you bring them in and off the screen?
I have one person. It was Marilyn, my assistant. She's been my assistant for, I don't know, maybe 12 years now, off and on, for my books and my blog. And so when I was looking for a virtual assistant for the summit, and Bob was explaining to me what skills, what the role of the virtual assistant was going to be, I thought, Marilyn knows how to do all those things. So I asked her if she wanted to do the summit with me. She goes, of course. So we ended up organizing the entire thing. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I really enjoyed it. And I had such a wonderful lineup of speakers. So.
Well, now is a great time. And this will be for anyone who's watching. If they're watching on YouTube, I don't see comments. I'm not able to see comments from them. And everyone that's going to be watching in replay, and they're just like, I feel like I've heard of Lisa Skinner. And they will pop in the middle, towards the end. Maybe they're like, nope, I'm going to listen to it all the way through while I take care of these chores, like, they're dusting or, fixing a vacuum, or I don't know. What do people do when they're listening to stuff like that? They're getting ready for the day.
Yeah.
That would be my husband, the motivational listener, D. Scott Smith, who is my tech, my producer, the person who finds the link that I lost, and everything else. So he listens while he's getting ready. And that's why he looks so good, because, he'll take like a full, 20 to 30-minute podcast listening to things and just being up on things. I think now would be a great time for you just to talk to us. Okay, you had a summit. We know you had people live, and we know that it was virtual, and that you also had recordings, and that you were so dedicated. You stuck with it for 9 hours, psyched yourself up. But what was it all for? This summit was sounds like fun, and it's exciting, and everyone's dedicated. But really, what was it about, and what are you about? And you also have a podcast. So, Lisa, I'm going to give you the stage for a few moments just to talk about how it was that you ended up with both these gals plus 20 more people.
I think we had close to 30.
Yeah, your subject matter.
As it turns out, and I think Alexis and Quinn would agree with me on this statement, I believe every single one of us who participated in the summit all feel very strongly and dedicated and committed to raising awareness about living with Alzheimer's disease. It's such a complex disease. And I think that the majority of people that I have run into in 30 years, they don't realize it's as complicated and complex as it actually is. I think most people truly associate Alzheimer's disease and related dementia with pretty much exclusively memory loss and confusion. And there are so many more layers that are part of the disease. And of course, we know in our industry, if you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia, because every single person experiences it differently. So I've been on this crusade for 30 years. My experience goes back 50 years, because that's when my grandmother was first diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. They didn't even call it that back then. They called it senile dementia. And since then, I've had 7 more family members live with one of the brain diseases that causes dementia, plus a dog. I have a pet dog with dementia. And I just decided, after realizing that it's really the proverbial elephant in the room. It's larger than life. Nobody wants to even acknowledge its existence. And I haven't seen a whole lot change in 30 years, maybe just starting to in the last couple of years, wouldn't you say, Alexis?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
That maybe there's a little bit more attention being placed on it because of all the celebrities that are coming out with their stories. So there's been a lot more media attention on it. But prior to that, nothing really. I mean, it's like a disease that people just didn't even really want to admit or acknowledge existed in their families. It represents embarrassment or shame. Still has, just unbelievable stigmas attached to it. And this has been my experience for 30 years that I've been working with families. So I wrote my first book and released it in 2015 at the urging of one of my clients. She said to me, "It would be selfish of you not to share the information that you know, because so many people out there are desperate to find out more. It's so hard to find resources." This was a long time ago. Maybe things have changed a little bit in the last couple of years, but not enough related to how many people are projected to develop Alzheimer's disease just in the next 20 years. Their numbers are projected to triple worldwide. So that's kind of why I decided to put the summit on, and I think every single person that participated in it feels as strongly as I do about helping people through this very difficult situation. And I think really one of the reasons why is because it's such a long, arduous journey for everybody. The average person lives with it 4 to 8 years, but a lot of people, we had somebody that as a speaker, he was called the Dementia Man at my summit. He was one of our recorded speakers. He actually has been living with Alzheimer's disease for 15 years, and he's still very high functioning. So he was gracious enough to come on and share his personal journey with the world to encourage people and give people hope that you can live very productive and meaningful lives even after an Alzheimer's diagnosis. But I would say 4 to 8 years, that's according to the Alzheimer's Association, but that seems kind of short to me because I think most people are more 10, 15. My grandmother was 20 years. So it's a long time, long time for families to have to figure out how to still make this relationship with their loved one work in a productive and quality sort of way, while everybody is, because you progress through the disease together. It's not just the person who lives with it. It's everybody involved. So anyway, that's kind of the motivation behind why I decided to do the summit. And I think the number of people that we had sign up for it, there was 11 or 1,200, I think is a testimony to to how many people really do want to find out more about Alzheimer's disease, or are going through this, or are worried that they're going to go through it. So I think that was a huge tell, just in the amount of people that signed up to listen to all of us.
Wow. No wonder you want to do it again this summer.
I want
It's
to
like,
continue to do it because I think it's
yeah.
probably one of the best ways available today in today's landscape to get messages out. And obviously there's an audience for it, especially in our realm, which is Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And every single one of us come from a different aspect of it, with Alexis just sharing how invaluable music therapy is. I've seen that, the magic and the just the unbelievable impact that music has had on people in my career. And Quinn, with all the research that she's doing, trying to find a way to get this disease more manageable, or find a cure for it. It's been that in itself has been a long, arduous journey for medical professionals and clinicians, because we are still not even close to finding a cure for Alzheimer's disease. Quinn can speak more to that because that's her area of expertise. But, I was just reading an article yesterday that I saw came in my AARP bulletin about the new hope of finding a cure or treatment for Alzheimer's disease. And I think it's the most encouraged I have felt in 30 years. But it's there's still nothing available that even really minimizes the progression of the disease, let alone stops the progression of the disease. But like I
Is
said,
that the one you got in the mail? The paper one?
it is.
ARP? It's sitting on my table. I haven't looked at it yet.
That article.
I brought in the mail and, we got on to something else. So I'm going to read that because.
Well, as a matter of fact, I was so encouraged by it that ended up being my podcast show yesterday. I recorded it because it had more encouraging information in that article. It's a brand new study that I have seen in a very, very long, I'd say ever. It's the most promising article I've ever read in terms of hope, and that they're not there yet, but they're probably on a closer track or more positive track than they feel like they've ever been. Quinn could probably speak more to that than I can. But the article was fascinating. So if any of you can get a hold of the AARP bulletin, it is the feature story in that about, excuse me, I'm losing my voice, about the promising future for getting this disease under control.
Quinn, let's have you go ahead and speak. And Lisa, you're making me drink. So you take care of your voice. Your voice is more than the sound that you make. I just listening to you now made me go, no wonder she had people saying, I want to come in too. Oh, don't you have time for me? Can't you sit there for 12 hours and bring me in? You're compelling. You are warm and loving. You have life experience. Quinn, you have a whole realm that I just sit back in awe of. You talk about you, and I'm so glad that both you and Alexis could come in with Lisa today. what I'm going to ask you to say the top 13 things that you've been thinking about while she's been talking.
Well, I think the first thing that really resonated with me from what Lisa said was, I also have family members who had Alzheimer's disease. Um, you know, my father had it, and he died about 10 years ago. And just what Lisa said about how there's been no real movement towards a cure. And even today, my mom's still going through files in my dad's old office, and he saved every article on Alzheimer's disease. And she'll just look at this and she'll tell me there's been no change, right? And it's been how many years? I mean, he was diagnosed in 2002. So in 20 years, has there really been any change? Not really in terms of a cure, not at all, actually. I have not read the AARP article, so I can't really speak to that. And I would say, based off of my father's experience, I felt like my dad, in retrospect, happened to do a lot of the things that research later showed could help slow down the progression of the disease, or like stop it from starting, hold off that the initial start. And so that's really motivated me to do public speaking and give workshops and stuff on that, so people realize that they have more control over their cognitive aging process than many of us realize, right? It's just all these healthy lifestyles that can really make a big impact on your brain health and your cognitive function in your later years. So that's kind of my professional goal.
Wow. And you call it NeuroFit.
So that's the company I work for. Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm director of aging research there. I apologize if you can hear my dog. But it's a company. We have an eye tracking task that we use right now. We use it with athletes and military personnel, and it's being used in some VAs. But basically, the way I think about it, it's kind of like a Fitbit or even a blood pressure monitor for you to monitor your own brain health. So you get a score. You could take it. I use it every day pretty much, and I can kind of monitor my score. I can see how getting bad sleep over a period of days can impact my score, so I can motivate to improve my sleep habits or whatever. So again, for me, that falls into this professional goal of helping people to take more control over their brain health or cognitive aging process.
Wow. That's awesome, because you're self-monitoring. You're thinking,
Yes.
have I
Yes.
Yes. I don't know how much you get to track over a number of days. My husband created his own planner, a paper planner that, spiral bound, open, and he was tracking his own life goals. Like, have I interacted with family members? Have I made it to a business goal? How am I doing physically? How am I doing spiritually? What about, pushed, reaching for something different, and so I was using a copy of that too to track. And I'm just like, oh, that space has been empty a number of days. I just didn't realize that I had neglected myself. So NeuroFit as an instrument, that is very attractive to people of all ages.
Yes.
And I'm including friends and family members who love to tap on their thing or show a readout or talk about, maybe what the doctor said about something, or it's I don't know, maybe it's those licky sticky stars that they put on the chart when you were doing your piano practicing.
Yeah.
It's your own woo. I did it. Woo, look, I filled it up. And
Yeah.
and
I
that
think,
too is has got to be part of your life, because if it's just drudgery or you're not really sure, you lose it.
well, I think it's helpful to get an objective score. And one of the points that Lisa raised earlier, and I think this is why when you have a family member with Alzheimer's disease or dementia, you know it's been going on much longer than when that diagnosis starts, right? And so
Right.
there's one study that found that they estimated that 63% of people living with Alzheimer's or with dementia are undiagnosed,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Undiagnosed, 63%. That's a huge number. And
Huge.
so when I think about our stuff, I think, wow, this is a way for people to try to help catch it early so that they can do those healthy lifestyle behaviors, maybe take whatever medications available at those early stages where it can really make the most difference in terms of helping you maintain your current level or at least slowing it down significantly. So
To piggyback on what Quinn is saying, and the majority of our interview, our conversation at the summit was about this very topic, lifestyle changes, and how there has been a lot of evidence-based studies that correlate to it making a difference to minimize or help reduce a person's risk of developing Alzheimer's disease later on.
Right.
But this article that I'm talking about that was in the AARP bulletin for March, it's very recent, March of 2024, so it just came out, talks a lot about lifestyle choices and how we already know that it's helpful. It's not going to prevent somebody. I mean, there's so many factors that are involved in determining a person's risk, but the more that apply to any individual, the higher their risk will be. And basically the point they were trying to drive home, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because it really falls to what Quinn is saying. If there are things we know we can do to minimize our risk of developing a disease that takes our identities away from us, why the heck wouldn't we do them just to minimize our risk? Like, do you really need to have that hamburger, from the fast food restaurant? Or is it more important to skip it and maybe just, making those type of lifestyle choice decisions would lower your risk from getting a dreadful disease when you're in your 60s or 70s or 80s? And it talked in detail about that in this article. And I personally am one of those very high risk people, because I've had, out of the 8 family members, 5 of them are blood relatives. So that in itself puts me at a very high risk. So I try to follow a lot of the principles that Quinn believes so fiercely in, because I know that there has been evidence that it does help lower your risk. And with like medical conditions, the number one modifiable risk to helping lower your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease is cardiovascular disease. And if it's being treated, then that's going to, kind of negate that from being one of those risk factors that just gets stacked on top of other risk factors. So following, like Mediterranean style diets and all the things that we know can minimize the risk, I kind of have to ask myself, why wouldn't people want to do things that are known to help? It's not going to prevent, it's not a sure thing, but your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease, and we know that those numbers in the next 20 years are going to triple worldwide. So that's enough. That's kind of enough proof for me to kind of take notice and say, okay, Lisa, you're already a high risk person for developing Alzheimer's disease. And there's things that you can do by making healthier choices for yourself. Which would you rather have, a healthy lifestyle or live with Alzheimer's disease in 10 years or 20 years? I know, to me, it's kind of obvious. So I very much support what Quinn believes in and supports and advocates, because I've read a lot of the studies. I've seen the evidentiary-based results, and myself being a higher risk person, it makes sense to me to do what I can to minimize that risk.
Yeah. Alexis, did you hear me sneak in the reference to piano lessons?
Yes, and I was going to say, enter music. Music.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Music is such a rewarding thing for the brain. So I've just been itching to jump in and share my piece. I actually, a few months back, I contributed to an AARP article on learning to play an instrument later in life. It's never too late. And music is for everyone. Music is for people living with dementia, but it's also for the caregivers caring for the people living with dementia. It's for older adults that are aging, quote unquote, normally. It's for kids. It's for any age. So yeah, music is such a gift, such a powerful thing. And it's known that it activates every area of the brain. It's been studied. So yeah, I would just encourage people. That's my my piece. I always speak into the dementia care space. I like to say music is like a vitamin, a little bit every day. Does wonders to nourish the body, mind, and soul. Like Lisa, my grandmother had Alzheimer's disease, and she passed away when I was 16. She actually passed away from stomach cancer before Alzheimer's disease, and we were almost grateful for that, because her Alzheimer's was she was getting close to the later stages, and it was just so difficult to see her. But yeah, I think people don't talk about things they don't understand. And if you haven't had a personal experience with someone living with Alzheimer's, if you haven't been personally touched by it, it's kind of this like far off, like you don't fully understand it. And there are a lot of different, it's a very complicated diagnosis. So yeah, it's a tough thing to talk about for sure, but I'm definitely passionate about increasing awareness and helping educate people. I'm part of a Toastmasters club, and I just gave a short talk on dementia basics. I brought an umbrella as a prop to show how dementia is an umbrella term. It covers, so I think just really helping people to understand and getting down to their level, because a lot of times you really just have to start with the basics, the very, very basics. You can't assume people understand anything about it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Alexis, did you happen to see, I think it was a year or two ago, there was this amazing documentary where this man, he recorded, it was at a dementia care place, and he recorded music on a Sony headset for each of the patients of their favorite music from their adolescence and 20s. And so they would listen to this music, and the contrast between how they were before they put on the headset and started listening to the music And while they were listening was like night and day. Like they went from being, we all know, just
Mhm.
there but not there,
Withdrawn.
not remembering anything, to then all of a sudden telling these stories from their past with great detail. Did you happen to catch I just thought that was incredible.
It sounds familiar. I don't know for sure if I mean, I've seen and read so many, different things like that. I know, a lot of people, they immediately think of the Alive Inside documentary, which was probably 10 years ago now, I think, when it first came out, and, they reached a lot of people through that documentary, and it's just so beautifully captures how music impacts people. But yes, it's so true. Music reaches deep within a person and really draws out memories, draws out emotion, draws out physical movement from the body,
Mhm.
social engagement, all kinds of things.
Alive Inside. Is that Dan Cohen?
Yes, I believe so. Yep.
Yay. So Alexis and I apparently brushed shoulders. We may have even reached into the same plate for the
Yeah.
little hors d'oeuvres in the
Oh.
Portland, Oregon area, but we didn't
Mhm.
realize it until afterwards that we had both gone to the same retirement connection. So
Mhm.
I have one back there, um, a book that is one of those, hey, it's a catalog. Oh, she's getting one. Whoo! You know, it
An
just,
older one.
oh, good, good. Oh, I love that. I love that smile on the front. And it would, yay, Amy Schmidt.
Mhm.
I don't know how far reaching these are, but I know it's regional. And they have like a coming out party, a launch party, and people come and there's music and prizes. And it's for a catalog that directs you to resources. So it would be a place for mom, I mean, not the company, but a place that you could choose to move into. It's an opportunity to see, oh, I don't know everything that's listed in there, but if it has anything to do with longevity and care and aging, then they've invited people to put in updated information. Plus, they have it online, which can be updated constantly. And she, again, sticky stars on the chart. She's giving out, like who has updated the most recently. And right there at the party, she looks at it and goes, hey, it's so and so. Are you here? Yeah, you just updated from your phone, maybe a phone number or something else that they're providing, that people who have any challenges related to aging, longevity care, can find, oh, there's something in this region, there's something I can drive to in a number of minutes that might help in our situation. So
Right.
medical,
Yeah, so
music is in there.
exactly. Yeah, I would say it's like a guide for family caregivers to find all of the resources they need to support their aging loved one. And I believe Retirement Connection is just Pacific Northwest region right now, other than careavailability.com. But they're really expanding, and Amy
That's true.
Schmidt is so great at bringing people together, and they work
Yes.
very closely with the Alzheimer's Association, our local chapters, and then not I don't maybe nationally as well, but they're huge supporters and really encouraging people to get involved. So just a little plug for Retirement Connection.
Yay. And I'm glad that you said that music is like a vitamin. I mean, it's a perk. It may keep you from something. We know that dementia, Alzheimer's is one style of dementia. I'm not the expert. I just get to listen to the people who are experts. But dementia is identity theft. I mean, it is a murderer. It destroys relationships. It affects the fabric of society. It is just brutal and mean and wrong, and it shouldn't exist. And Quinn, you were talking about, was it your father that was collecting articles? And
Yeah.
and Lisa's been talking about the, the hope, reading an article and knowing, okay, I am at risk for this. And just music as it may have been Dan Cohen, it may have been Roger Anionson, who also is in Oregon, who was saying research can get to a point where we can do a non-pharma prescription for music, like what kind, how much, how often, that it will change your brain chemistry and how long that effect. It isn't just, wouldn't that be cute if that was all you needed was a dose of music a day to make sure that you don't get frontotemporal or whatever. It's like, no, research is getting serious about finding what is making new pathways, just like with an injury anywhere else in your body. Of course, your brain is part of your body, but anywhere else in your body, it's like, okay, we're going to train your muscles, even though you lost that whatever use, or it's too damaged, that one part in your leg. We're going to put you through physical therapy so that you can be walking again and retrain. I actually had to do that because of a thing in my back. But anyway, and so, retrain to use something different. And it's like, yes, this is, I'm really glad that we're having this dynamic conversation today.
Yes.
I forgot something last week, so I'm going to go a little bit of a change. Last week, I forgot to show my books because a person also here in Oregon who works with people on dealing with dementia. I gave this book that I wrote to that person because we were doing each other favors. And she gave me the bigger favor. And she wrote me, hand wrote, got it in the mailbox, a note and said, I've already let 2 of my clients thumb through your caregiver kit, especially the section that ALS authors, one of the ALS authors volunteers, said, are you going to include something in that book about the grief that accompanies the loss that happens as Alzheimer's disease or dementia as a brain medical disease begins to chip away at both those who are watching and living it with them, et cetera. Anyway, these families, she wrote me a note saying 2 of the families have already said, wow, that is something practical that I can start right now. And it's a practical positive that I can start right now, knowing that I will be grieving not only the loss of what could have been when they're right there in front of me, but also the loss when they are taken either by that disease or in the case that was mentioned, like a cancer or something actually stops life earlier. But if we know that it's a thief. The other thing that I wrote was because I was hired into homes in a large region, 2 large counties. And so I would be hired into homes to be that extra, I always said, extra daughter-in-law you never knew you needed until now, so that I could be an assistant to a person who was having challenges, and it was more than the family could deal with. No family is is a staff of people. Families are families and have the skills that they have and the dedication levels that they can do. And when you've got a gap, you might hire someone like me to come into the home for 2 or 12 hours a day. And I noticed from home to home to home. So during those years, I was in over 90 different homes and meeting those families. And I kept putting little notes in my little purple bag of, you know what? I'm seeing commonalities from family to family having to do with aging. And the family members, often the adult children of the people that I was assisting. So I had the client, but then the adult children are coming and going. They might be living there. The family member may have moved in with them. And I thought, I get to hear all this wisdom of how they're preparing because they've lived challenging or declines or dealing with organizations and phone calls and whatever. They've lived it with their loved one. So this is what they are doing ahead of time, looking toward their own aging. It's this unknown, and yet aging is happening right in front of us. I don't know how I'm going to be challenged in the future. So I narrowed it down to only 52, which kind of works out because there's 52 weeks in a year or 52 cards in a deck. And you could always say, this is what life has dealt to me. But 52 aspects of aging, really general, just really general ones. And I lead the person through very wordy prompts to think, now, what would be important to me emotionally for me? How would I want to respond to that? Maybe I am going to hit it. Maybe someone else I know is going to hit it. But how would I want to respond to it emotionally? And how would I want to how do I want to build relational resilience with the people who are going to be caring about me? So it's kind of what I had going on in the back of my brain. And my husband said, that could actually be a book. And I talked to some other people. That could be like a journal. And that could be like a course that you would take. And it's just approaching your own, and I even have in there your reward. What are you going to do? Because you actually documented something today. You contacted someone and said, hey, when it's my turn, or if I hit this, I want you to know that I don't care whether you put me in a place, take me into your place, move in with me. I'm just grateful that you are who you are, and just live with things that people are scared about. Lisa, you were talking about that. They're frightened of it. They don't want to talk about it. Great big elephant in the room. Who is he going to sit on next? It's just like, make it just a natural conversation. A lot of people were already doing that. And I just thought, everyone should have an opportunity. So now it's a book. Okay, I said my part. I want to go back to you guys. Alexis, did you get a chance to even say what it is you do? Because apparently you do things in person, and you also do them virtually, or in recordings or live. What all do you do?
Yes. So I've been a board certified music therapist for 10 years. And the first 7 years I spent serving individuals and communities. So I contracted with care communities in the Portland area, and I was a traveling music therapist. I would drive around to all of them. And then COVID hit, and I was not able to do any of that. Right. So I started thinking, what alternative can I provide in response to COVID to still be reaching people with music? And like you, I teamed up with my husband, who is a professional videographer, and he began filming me. And we created these pre-recorded sessions because I had tried some things over Zoom, but there was challenges with doing music therapy over a platform like this. So we thought we could provide something that's accessible 24/7 on demand. And we launched a program in the fall of 2020 with 4 videos, and we had no idea what we were doing, but we just continued creating new content, new videos that we added to what we now call our member video library. And we were getting interest, we were getting people signing up using it and getting great feedback. So we just continued on with it and really worked on improving it, and working out all of the kinks. And a little over 3 years later, we have a video library of 300 plus videos, accessible on demand, and we serve both care communities and individuals living at home. I really saw a need. I really saw a hole in the music therapy field where there aren't enough music therapists to go around. So I wanted to provide an alternative, something that's very accessible and very affordable as well. Our prices are super low for full access to anyone who signs up gets full access to our video library. Because oftentimes music therapists can be tough to find. A lot of them are in the larger cities, but then what about the rural areas?
Yes.
And then it can be very cost prohibitive too. So yeah, I saw a need and wanted to meet it, but it all came about in response to COVID, just trying to provide an alternative, reaching people with music. I know music can make a difference, and that's what I feel called to, is to use as a music therapist, to use music to make a difference specifically in dementia care. I'm so passionate about serving people living with dementia because I know the difference it makes. So I just want to bring more of that.
Well, thank you on behalf of caregivers, whether it's a family member, a friend, a spouse, a sibling, a neighbor, whoever is spending time with someone for companionship or peace of mind for the person who's left the room, left the house, or whatever. Thank you, because not everyone is okay. That's too sarcastic. Okay, music doesn't come naturally to everyone. Plus, you get to the point where you're just like singing the same songs again and again. And so here's this fresh person who's got all the energy in the world and brightens up the room for everyone in the room. Thank you so much for making this equitable for someone who lives acres and acres away from everyone else. And it's just maybe not possible to move this person from what they're doing to a situation to get maybe 45 minutes twice a month or something. It's not enough. Thank you for making it so accessible.
Oh,
Quinn,
I want to.
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, good. Quinn, I want to make sure in our minutes remaining that you tell us about NeuroFit and maybe anything else about contacting you or NeuroFit.
Yeah, sure. So NeuroFit, it's as I mentioned earlier, it's just a simple eye tracking task that right now we're working on getting it to where you could do it on a VR headset. We also have what we call a research grade version, which looks like a desktop. But basically, it's a very simple task. You watch a dot move on a screen. And what the CEO of the company, he's a vision scientist, a neuroscientist, is how he's explained it to me is that our eye movements are connected, use the same brain circuitry as used in a lot of, basic cognitive functions. And that's why it could be an indicator of brain health, right? And so we've done some preliminary studies where we found that people with mild cognitive impairment perform much, much worse on this basic eye movement task than healthy adult controls. We found that there are some people who are really exceptional at this task. So I would call them like super healthy, have super healthy brains. So that's pretty exciting. And as I mentioned before, the goal is for people to be able to do this from the comfort and privacy of their own home, right? And just kind of have that same monitoring as you would with a blood pressure monitor or, your Fitbit watch or whatever your device is. So that's the company. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I do talks. I contribute to Psychology Today every once in a while. Again, just trying to help people realize that they do have some control over their cognitive aging process by, as Lisa said, eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, watching your alcohol intake, getting adequate sleep. I mean, it's all these things that we grew up with. It's not rocket science, but having the information about how powerful it can be in terms of your late life cognitive function can be motivating to people.
Oh, Inger says hi to all of you. I'm joining her for her virtual birthday party in a couple, about 90 minutes or so. So, hi, Inger. She is, I always say, up in Canada. She is a distance away, so I've never met her in person, but everybody knows her. She just is like, oh my goodness, when she declares a birthday party, it's like, oh, we're all going to show up. So thank you so much, Inger. Lisa, we have 2 people who have contributed to AARP. Alexis has, and Quinn has contributed to Psychology Today. Did I get that right? And Lisa, you have a book that you wrote a number of years ago, and you have a podcast, and you're going to just keep doing these summits, which I will declare that working on things like this is definitely growing new neural pathways in your brain at all times. Oh my goodness. When we get to that point where it's like, yes, my device says that I grew more neural pathways than were destroyed by this thing that I was, 25 years ago, they said that I have this brain disease, but I've grown twice as many today. It'll be like people saying, hey, I got in 7,000 steps today or whatever. That is coming. And thank you for telling us the AARP has out an article with research or something good. There's something hopeful there. So read your AARP or subscribe. There's no limit to your age. They're not going to say, I'm sorry, but you're too young to be informed about healthy aging. You should wait until you're having problems, then get AARP. I don't think they say that in their things. So Lisa, we are at the last minute. What would you like people to know? All your information has been on the screen. What would you like to say? You're finishing us up.
Okay. I'm very excited to announce that I was just selected to do a TED Talk on May 4th. And I am going to be doing my talk all about Alzheimer's disease and dementia in a very, very unique perspective. So it's the Grand Prairie event. It's actually in Canada on Saturday, May 4th. So it'll be on YouTube after that. But if you want to see a really unique perspective on somebody explaining what it's like to live with Alzheimer's disease, look for my TED Talk, because I don't think anybody has ever presented it the way that I will be presenting that talk at the TED Talk on May 4th. So I'm very excited about that.
Send me a link to it so I can post it out. Oh my goodness. I am so excited. You folks, oh, thank you so much. We're finishing up just in time. There's always more. There's always more. And I will invite you back for what do you call it? Reunion. I'll invite you back for a reunion a number of months from now. I always spread it out over a number of days. Hey, Inger, be on the lookout for that talk, Lisa. Woo! And it's in Canada. Oh my goodness.
That's exciting, Lisa.
Thank you. I've been trying for a long time. I finally got one.
Congratulations.
Hi. Woo!
They're
Well,
not
I
easy
just
yet. No. Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. That is a great way to end. Thank you, Quinn. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Lisa.